Welcome back to the Curdverse. I'm Lisa Kaywood, corporate functionary by day, home cheesemaker by night. Last time on the Curdverse, we talked about the long history of cheese and dairy in China. The episode before that, we talked about stretched curd cheeses and how there are two types, the Western ones made with animal rennet and the Asian type without. Today, we're bringing all of those things together via an interview with Taiwanese maker of mozzarella, burrata, and other Italian cheeses, Isabella Chen. So I said we're bringing all those things together, but that's a little bit of a lie, because Taiwan, a small island off the southeast coast of China, both is and is not culturally Chinese, in much the same way that the US and England are divided by a common language, have many of the same holidays and basic cultural framework, but tend to behave in obviously different ways. And because it's a small mountainous island with only a small coastal plain available for plant cultivation, Taiwan historically did not raise many large animals, and so didn't really develop the type of dairy traditions that Dr. Brown described the Chinese mainland as having in the last episode. Taiwan has been colonized many times by many different peoples. First, in Neolithic times, by people who would much later explore the South Pacific and colonize its islands. The indigenous Taiwanese who remained were progressively pushed up into the mountains by successive waves in historical times of various groups from mainland China. Mostly these were traders, fisherfolks, the occasional pirates, often from minority groups of coastal southeast China. But with every major regime change, every time a major dynasty fell, there would also be a wave of political refugees from various parts of the Chinese Empire. Japan colonized the island for 50 years, starting in 1895. And then another wave of political refugees, this time representing the nationalist government of China, came in 1949 after the communist takeover of the mainland. The nationalists got political and economic aid from the US for a few decades, and with it came American advisors of various kinds, and a big expansion of the local dairy industry. But as we'll hear from Isabella, dairying tended to be limited to liquid milk in various forms, with very little of it turned into cheese. And that makes it very hard, especially for small artisan producers, much less a home cheesemaker, to get ingredients, equipment, and the necessary licenses to do what they love doing most. There are similar stories all over the Southern Hemisphere. Non-Western artisan cheesemakers who, in our era of globalization, want to explore European-style cheeses need to contend with a whole array of these basic logistical challenges, not to mention, in many cases, profoundly different climates than Europe, and very different local tastes and expectations about cheese and dairy. The grit, inventiveness, and determination of so many of these cheesemakers are always inspiring, and I believe they're likely to take cheesemaking in whole new directions in the decades ahead. I hope you enjoy this episode with Asian artisan cheese pioneer Isabella Chen. Isabella, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. So why don't we start by having you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into cheesemaking, and also I really love the name of your shop. It's kind of a fun multilingual play on words, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about the name too.
Actually, I studied computer science in university, but I've never done anything related to coding, writing programs, and but I studied telecommunication in graduate school, and I've always interested in learning new languages, and I spent about at least almost 20 years of my career as a news writer and a translator. So I think that has helped me a lot in sharpening up the skills of investigating and information gathering.
Wow. Okay. So how did you get from journalism to cheesemaking?
Okay, It is during the trip to Italy in, I think, 2005, that I fell in love with with Italian, the country, and especially its cuisine. So after the age of 40, I realized I wanted to do something different for the second half of my life. I want to work because I've been working on words, and now I wanted to work on something
Mm,
tangible, like food, something you
mm,
can eat, something you can touch. So I I think I want to find something that combines my love for Italian food and my knowledge on the language. So I found dairy. So I think I want to diversify the dairy products in Taiwan. We only have like yogurt and ice cream and milk, and
mhm.
I know some people before me have tried to make cheese but failed. But with my my background skills, I think I might have a chance.
I remember there was some processed cheese, but it wasn't very good.
Yeah, that's all people know about cheese in Taiwan. So I want to do something different.
So did you start out, just always with the idea that you were going to start a business, or did you just kind of dabble at home first, or what was your path?
Yeah, I started to make mozzarella at home first because I'm not sure if it would be become a business. And so in the daytime, I do my work as a news writer, and in the nighttime, I make cheese.
Oh gosh, this is
But
sounding very familiar.
yeah, and then I realized I might have a chance to do this as a business because I know the language, and I know some techniques written on English textbook are wrong. So I started to ask Italian masters, casaros, online. They have an online forum, and then I found this wasn't enough either. So I started to look for some dairy factories, some caseificio in Italian, means dairy factories that I can learn from. So I started to contact them, and I think I have to learn from zero, from as a apprentice.
The very old school way.
Yeah,
So did you start in Italy? I think I read that you also studied in Japan.
I at first I wanted to go to Italy, but I wrote many messages and got no response.
Mm,
Uh, there, one Italian friend told me that why they don't respond because they think how come a crazy Asian little lady would want to learn their craft, their cheese making. So because there I got no response from Italy, I started to look out other places. Occasionally I found a magazine. There's a article about my maestro, and saying that he is the first one to make burrata in Japan. And then I wrote a letter to him and asked him if I can learn from him, and he said yes.
aha.
Yeah.
So, I think that just the culture in general, but certainly the food culture in Japan is very different from that of Italy. So what were some of the things that you found in learning about cheese in Japan versus
Mhm.
eventually learning about cheese in Italy, and kind of what did you take away from those different experiences?
Um, I think the Japanese influenced me more than the Italians in their spirits of artisanship.
Mm.
I can, whenever my maestro Japanese say, I can only answer hi or yes. I cannot ask questions. I cannot do anything other than what he told me to. That's what I learned from my Japanese maestro. But my Italian maestros, they're uh, learning in the Caseificio in Italy is like a because I'm the only girl in the Caseificio, so they treat me very nicely, and they we will have every morning at around 10 o'clock. We'll have a coffee break, and some people will sing. And
Mm.
whenever I do, they will say, "Oh, brava, brava,"
Very different
and
vibe.
that's totally different. And it's quite, yeah, yeah.
Wow, okay. When you set up your business in Taiwan, how did you go about finding milk? And what were there particular regulations
Hmm.
that you had to go through? I mean, if there are not very many artisan cheesemakers in Taiwan for sure, so I would imagine that there isn't even really kind of a standard regulatory path for that.
Mm. Yes, because I started to find the source of milk before I even went to Japan and Italy to learn, because I think that's the first thing, the most important thing, because I have to have good milk to make good cheese. And so I, uh, from north to south, I went so many farms because and got rejected because dairy farmers in Taiwan are very conservative. They only in the past they only sell their milk to the big
Mhm.
factory, big brands in Taiwan. So by by law they cannot sell raw milk to other people. So I have to win their trust. I have to tell them that I know how to process the raw milk, and I always send the cheese made from their milk to them and let them try the cheese I made from their milk.
So, do you make your cheese with raw milk or do you pasteurize it?
Well, I pasteurize it because there's no. I think in Taiwan the regulation says the raw milk, all dairy product, the milk has to be pasteurized. We won't be able to have the raw milk cheese like French that the Europeans do.
Mhm, mhm. When the farmers were first saying no, was it just because they were locked up in contracts, or it was more that they didn't wanna get in trouble, or how did you win them over?
It's both, I think, and because they're some like PETA, the
Mm,
animal rights
mhm,
group,
mhm.
they're very afraid, or they want to keep
Ah,
distance. Yeah, so I found the dairy farm that I that provides the milk now, because the mutual friend. He is also a dairy farmer who lives close to my hometown, and I visited
mm.
him a lot. And I asked him if you know anybody in the north who will provided me who will provide me the milk, the raw milk to make cheese. And then he introduced me to this farm.
And did you choose the North in Taipei because you thought that would be where the most customers would be, or why did you choose the North?
Because there are many restaurants
Mm,
with foreign chef or chef with experience abroad, and they know the cheese. They know how to use the cheese I
mhm.
make. So I chose to have my business in the north, Taipei.
I see. So you were originally targeting then restaurants as opposed to individual consumers. Is that right?
Yeah, because not many people knew about burrata by the time.
Hmm. So the climate in Taiwan is very hot, as is southern Italy, but it's much more humid too. Have you had to make adaptations in terms of how you make the cheese just because of the climate?
Uh, I think the biggest difference is probably the milk itself,
Mm,
because in Taiwan we have Holstein mainly, uh, a very small proportion of Jersey cows,
hmm.
but mainly Holstein. And Taiwan in the summer is very hot, so the it is always believed that we won't have good milk, but actually we do, as long as you find the good farmers, good dairy farmers. So I chose the good farmers. They always the milk quality always listed on the top 3% of all the farmers in Taiwan. And the other reason to accommodate the hot weather in Taiwan is that I chose to make fresh cheese at first because it doesn't need aging.
Hmm. Yeah, and having operating a cave and so forth is complicated.
Yes. And
Yeah.
also, I think people in Taiwan are used to the flavor of milk, but so they can easily accept the flavor of burrata or mozzarella,
Hmm.
etc. But for like blue cheese or formaggio picante, the cheese with strong flavor, few people like the strong flavor.
Yeah.
So that's why chose fresh cheese at first too.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I
Mm.
think, when I was talking with Miranda last time, she and other conversations with her too, she's alluded to the fact that milk and dairy and cheese in a lot of cases have sort of played the same role as like tofu has. And so it's the mild and quasi sweet alternative to the more pungent flavors that are very common in a lot of Chinese cuisines. Certainly in Taiwan, there are a lot of very strongly flavored foods, right? So I can see how just the
Mhm.
the desire to have something that's sort of simple and balances that out would make sense. When you started going to restaurants, was it a big uphill battle in terms of saying, "Hey, I have this fresh mozzarella or fresh burrata," or were they really excited about it, or what was that process like?
Actually, I didn't do any like promotion or PR,
Wow.
and all my first customers, they found me before
Mm,
I found them. Uh, because I will write sort of diaries on my Facebook fan page, or yeah, how I learned. I started writing since I was learning cheese making in Japan. So some chef would follow, and it was also a time when Taiwan started to have Michelin star chef from abroad. They came back to the home country Taiwan to open up their own restaurant, and they would emphasize that they want to use local ingredients, eat locally, and so there's kind of a wave in the restaurant industry, and they found, wow, Taiwan, they couldn't believe that people are making burrata in Taiwan. So that's how I got my first customer, who is a pizzaiolo, Italian pizzaiolo, and he was very surprised to find that there is a Taiwanese girl who makes burrata, the cheese from his own country. Yeah.
wow. And so the restaurants that are using your cheese, are they typically sort of Italian restaurants like the pizzeria, or is it sort of Italian Taiwanese with the Taiwanese flair, or are they becoming more sort of adapted really more to the local cuisine and local tastes?
Uh, at first, most of the restaurants customers are some French style restaurant, fine dining restaurant, and some are Italian restaurants. Partly the cost of milk production in Taiwan is the highest, so the cheese we make is also the price is also higher than the imported ones.
Mm,
Uh, because the cost of milk is probably almost 4 times
wow.
of that in Italy. So at first, only those fine dining restaurant, French restaurants, they have more budget to acquire the ingredients.
Hmm.
So but then piano piano, slowly, some Italian restaurant, some European style restaurant, they started because they saw the Michelin star chef using our cheese, so they started to use our cheese too, and
Aha.
they noticed the difference of our burrata over the imported ones because you can really taste the
Hmm.
freshness. So now we have more and more customers. We also have Japanese cuisine restaurants like yakitori and sushi also. Yeah,
Using the mozzarella.
uh, they use stracciatella.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the filling of burrata.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also another Japanese fine dining restaurant use our ricotta salata, which is to my surprise, and he knows how to use this. He chef it on the yasai soup.
Huh. Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
so let's talk about that a little bit more. How do you see cheese, Western style cheeses being adapted to being used in sort of more classically Taiwanese or Chinese style foods?
Mm-hmm. Chinese style food is really a challenge, I think. So in the second half of the this year, we will probably work with the Cantonese restaurant chef because Cantonese cuisine they use more milk in among all the Chinese, Chinese cuisine. I always enjoy the process of discussing the dish and how they create, how I can offer my help or my knowledge over on cheese, and so maybe we can create something different using cheese in the traditional Chinese cooking. But for the ordinary customers, we always try to ask them because I know some customers they want to eat good cheese, not processed cheese, but they don't know how. The problem is they don't know how to eat them. So we will train our staff to ask the customers, "What do you have in home in the fridge?" And normally, the ordinary family they will have like bread and fruits. Fruits are our Taiwan is
Yes.
very famous for the tropical fruits. So almost every family have those ingredients, and
Hmm.
they're a good pairing with cheese. So we will start from some ingredients that people are familiar with, and tell them, "Oh, actually, you can combine the cheese with that, this, and that," and start it from something they are familiar with, and they can find the way to use it in different dishes. This how we, sort of educate the customers.
Yeah. Much the same process happens in the US, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, I mean, for a lot of people in the US, most cheeses, I mean, people know cheddar and they know mozzarella and they know brie. And much of anything beyond that is they're kind of unfamiliar with. And so a lot of the reason that I started this podcast was just to help people understand what else is out there and what it might be like to taste it and how to use it. So,
We
yeah.
will also tell chef because some chef, some cooks would take a recipe online and ask us if we have this sort of cheese or that cheese, and we will tell them, actually you can replace this cheese with our product or something, because you cannot find this cheese in Taiwan. So they don't know what the cheeses are interchangeable
Mm.
according to their textures or their flavor or their use,
Hmm.
and they need this information. Then that's our strong points. I can tell them which you can replace this cheese with what kind of other cheese.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I know there's a lot of artisanal cheese making happening in Japan as well. I mean, I know you spent some time there,
Yeah.
focusing specifically on Italian cheeses. Do you see How do you see cheese making growing in Northeast Asia in general, and do you see it becoming more localized, or do you see it as sort of the first step is really just to kind of bring European style cheese making as a first step?
Mhm. Right now in Taiwan, I would say we're still in the kindergarten stage, because even people who want to make are already making cheese right now, they don't really know the cheese map, the world cheese map, and
Hmm.
I think Japanese, they can always offer many experience, and Japan has also continued to export their expertise overseas to other Asian countries. So far as I know, in Vietnam, the Japanese they set up a factory making
Mm.
burrata mozzarella for many pizzeria, and in Taiwan, in October, I'm also taking some farmers who want to learn cheese making to visit Japan, Nasu, and Chiba in October, because I want them to know how the business models they can adapt and to Taiwan, and see how they how the dairy industry help revitalizing the rural region. I think these are the experience we can learn from them if we want to start making cheese in Taiwan. And I think we can the farmers can work together instead of everyone do their own
Mm.
thing. And as far as the localized, you asked if we will have more. You mean for cheese with Taiwanese flavor or
Characteristics,
okay.
yeah.
For
Yeah, Taiwanese flavors or Taiwanese
mhm,
characteristics. I mean, I think, and this is again, this has been very true in North America as well, where we starting in the 1970s, there was this big artisanal revolution, but all of our models are Western European models, and it's only, I think, very, very recently that cheesemakers have sort of had the confidence to
mm,
start experimenting with their own sort of models and flavors
mm,
and sort of distinctly American approaches. And I would imagine that that's probably sort of maybe where Taiwan is as well. But I'm just kind of wondering what that might
mm.
wind up looking like in Asia.
We already have some products, like we have the tea cheese. The We combine the Taiwan black tea into burrata and make it a like milk tea burrata.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. So do you put the tea leaf in the stracciatella or?
No, we infuse the tea flavor
Oh,
in the
okay.
stracciatella.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, that sounds
and
fantastic.
also yeah, and the mango, the fruits, we make puree and we put it as a filling of burrata. So we make the mango burrata, which is every summer we make a mango burrata, and it
Mm.
has become a very kind of bestseller. and summer
Mhm.
because mango has a creaminess and it's flavor, and it's
Yeah.
very good with the fresh milk. So we combine it.
Mhm. Creamy, but also a little savory, and it can you can
Yeah.
I can see that going very, very well with sort of the slight muskiness of, mozzarella or burrata, yeah.
Yes, and in the summer it's hot, so you can have a fruit salad and
Mhm.
for a meal for lunch. And also we use Aboriginal spice in aged cheese too. Ricotta salata. We use
Mm.
yeah, and yeah, some chef will ask us to make some customized for cheese, and sometimes we would discuss what ingredient they would want to use, and we will start the R&D process, and not all the ideas were success.
Sure. Are there any other things that you would like to tell us about, cheese making in Taiwan?
Mm, I think the obstacles here is for cheesemaking industry in Taiwan is actually from the government, the regulation, because the official name for cheese is 干酪, which means dry casein, because the officials, they don't know nothing about fresh cheese, and that shows in many regulations. There is no regulation for small dairy factory
Mhm.
creameries or artisan creameries uh, like us in Taiwan. So I think that's the biggest obstacles we have right now, including the import of ingredients from abroad and setting up the cheese factories. Their regulation are not very friendly for small producers.
Mhm. No, it sounds like you've really got your work cut out for you on that front, but I think that, especially with your farmer friends getting involved, perhaps, as you say, all together, there's power in togetherness.
I hope. And also, I would like to mention a situation we have here and a challenge. Why I want to bring those farmers to Japan for visit. In 2013, we've signed a trade agreement with New Zealand, and by the agreement, the tariff of fresh milk will be down to zero by 2025. So there will be a huge impact on the dairy farmers. Some estimates about one third of the farmers
Ah.
will be forced to close their business. And so I think because is the only dairy product that has to use
Mhm.
the milk, local milk from raw milk. They cannot use the imported fresh milk already pasteurized. So I want to help them to transform
Yeah.
to make more diversified dairy products to face the challenge, to accommodate the challenge.
Mhm.
Yes.
That
So,
sounds very important. That sounds very important.
mhm.
We started to talk about it, and then we skipped past it early on. Could you talk about the name of your business?
Mhm. I want to have the name of my cheese lab first in Italian. I thought of Amano Amano, which is the same as Mamano. And then Amano Amano is a little bit long, so I chose Mamano. And Mamano in Chinese, in English means take it slowly, right? And mamano in Chinese, I just translate
Mhm.
by the pronunciation, which is 慢慢弄, and they means the same thing. Take it or do it slowly.
Mhm. By
So
hand. Yeah.
I like
It's very clever. I really like the name.
I like the name too.
Well, so Isabella, thank you very much again for joining us. This is a great overview. If people are interested in learning more about your business or what you're doing, where can they find you online?
They can go to www.labmano, MANMANO.com. That's our online shop. And
Mhm.
also, they can contact us over our Facebook page, which is also, you can find it on the same website too. Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm sure our burrata is probably the best you can find in Taiwan because even Italian chef they would rather use our burrata than the imported burrata from their country. I think they're very a very good recognition for us.
It sounds like you've been having, one success after another with just sort of having customers come to you and having them, your restaurant customers, help educate your consumer customers. So,
I was very lucky, I would
yes.
say.
So, best of luck, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Lisa.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Next time, we'll head back to the other end of Asia, again to the Eastern Mediterranean, and talk a lot about brined cheeses and the use of salt and cheese in general. So join me again next time as we once again enter the Curd Verse.